so much for being on the Talking Guitar podcast with me today. I'm so excited to finally meet you and talk to you in sort of in person.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and nice to meet you.
So I guess we'll just go ahead and dive right in and talk about sort of your journey into guitar making.
Yes. So my journey started in 2011. So like most of my peers, I guess I started by learning to play the guitar before even thinking about making them,
Mm-hmm.
So I started playing when I was 15 years old, maybe, but just as a hobby. I played a little with along with friends in some open stage bars and stuff like this in my native city in Bordeaux. But it was really just a hobby and a way to have fun at the time. So I was at some point in my life where I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, to find my vocation, kind of. So I had a lot of experiences in STEM field jobs. Like I worked a lot in the wine industry at some point, and so
Oh, cool.
on a lot of aspects of this industry, actually. So, and I saw people who were spending their life in this kind of business, and I figured out it's not what I want. And so if I wasn't able to find my way, I would have to do it pretty much all my life, So I figured, well, I like guitar. I would like to try and make them. It looked like a very interesting career to try and achieve. So I went for the Quebec Luthier School, Quebec City.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my buddy Virgil, who was one of my co-students at the school, and we had a lot of fun times together over there.
Nice.
So yeah, it was cool. I think about this time with a lot of nostalgia sometimes. So it was a 3-year training there, and so I graduated in 2014, and then I started my career on my own since then.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent 1 year after the school renting a working space in a workshop downtown Quebec City.
Mm-hmm.
And after this year over there, I built 2 guitars here, and then I set up my own workshop. So I found a nice big house with a big basement, and I set up the shop in the basement. It took me about 6 months to set up the shop. Mm-hmm. And since then, it's been growing and growing. So right now I'm like out of space. So if I want to grow my shop even more, I have to find another place for it. But it's working fine so far. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you stayed in Quebec City. You didn't go down to Montreal or leave it at all?
No, I just stayed in Quebec City. I got back then when I graduated, I got offered a job in the Luthier school as a technician and taking care of maintaining the machinery and also taking care of the tools for the students and stuff like this. So it was a good opportunity, with a good pay and everything. So I just went for it. And I was also working for a couple of guitar shops in the city. So doing a lot of repairs and setup jobs and things like this, and getting in contact with the clients over there was a very good experience as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just stayed in Quebec City. It was a nice place to be. I had a lot of friends over here. Yeah, I only saw good points at staying there. So
yeah, no, that sounds like everything really worked out nicely. So the fact that you're able to set up the space at home to build your own guitars, as well as having all those great opportunities, sounds really ideal. And Quebec City is so gorgeous. So pretty.
Yeah, it's a nice place. Winters can be pretty long, as you might know. But,
yeah.
But we do with it.
Yeah.
With it. Fine. Yeah.
Nice. Well, so do you play much still, or do you primarily just focus on the building side of things?
I'm primarily focusing on building. I play a little bit. When I started playing, I was playing only with a pick. So when I started making fingerstyle guitars, I had to get myself used to playing in fingerstyle, to be able to try my guitars myself and to hear what they're all about. So took me some time, but I have a decent enough skill level to be able to try my guitars, and it's fine with me. And what I like the most actually is to have my guitars played by others who know better than me and can give me good feedbacks on the acoustic side of things. So yeah, I'm still playing a little bit, but way less than say 10 years ago maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I play a lot of electric as well.
Oh, cool. Do you ever build any electric?
Well, so I have a Les Paul at home, so I play on it sometimes just to have some fun and to chill out. And I also play the piano.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I really love it. But I never took any lessons or anything, but I just learned to play by myself, and I love playing the piano. So I'm almost playing more the piano than guitar nowadays.
Yeah. It's funny how you kind of go through different waves with different instruments, and sometimes one takes more of your I don't know, musical heart for a little while than the other. But
yeah.
So that's really interesting that you craft such fantastic fingerstyle guitars, but that wasn't your main sort of focus as a player when you started out. So yeah, I'm just curious, did you decide to go with the fingerstyle sort of like approach more just because of demand from players, or like what kind of led you down that path versus like building dreadnoughts and kind of more traditional flat picking style guitars?
Yeah, well, it really came from my internship in Quebec City in the Luthier school. So on the 3-year time we are at the school, we have the opportunity to see all the aspects of Luthier, what you can do with it. So inside of Luthier, you have so many different styles, and I was very inspired by the great modern style builders we have nowadays in North America. So Samoji, Mario Beauregard, Michael Bashkin, Matsuda, and all their peers, and I love their style. I love what I really loved about their guitars is the time and the perfection that they were trying to achieve on their work. So, and I started at this time also listening to great fingerstyle musicians, and I love the way the great fingerstyle musician explore all the aspects of the acoustic of a guitar. Mm-hmm. So you can hear all the overtones and the harmonics, and the guitar is so much put up front. And so this is what I loved about this particular field in Luthier. So I just went for it, and I everything attracted me on this aspect of the guitar making. So the aesthetics of the guitars, the proportions of the models, and the acoustic was fantastic. So I started listening back then some Don Ross, Dustin Furlow, Tommy Emmanuel, and this kind of folks really inspired my guitar making prospects. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah. That's such an interesting sort of point that, I mean, it's kind of like an obvious statement to say that like the fingerstyle guitar, especially the solo fingerstyle guitarist, you are just obviously hearing the guitar, but like when you think about the guitar in the context of rock music or a bluegrass band, it's just one of many parts. But with fingerstyle guitar, with a solo player, you're trying to replicate so much more. So that's going to demand so much more of the guitars. And so I can see that be more interesting to build for as a luthier. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it. It's like the guitar takes really the center stage, and yeah, this is why I like it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very cool. Well, I think you already touched on some of your influences as far as other luthiers go. So I would love to just hear more about how you sort of came to your approach in terms of like, especially the aesthetics, which are so beautiful and so intricate. And I feel like there's like, it seems like all of you luthiers who came up from the Quebec school kind of have a similar, like you're all distinct, but there's a kind of a similar, like elevated, very elegant style to all of your builds. And I'm so curious to know how you decided to come up with your specific like aesthetic touches.
Well, it's a long-term process, and it's always developing and evolving. So, like I have the models I have today are all personal design models, but mostly they're all based on general, I'd say, very popular Martin or Gibson models already existing. So, for instance, for the Mistral model, I really took in account the body length and the body width of a Noem Martin, but then I just adapted the curves to be more of my taste and to be more how would you say that more fluid, like
yeah there's
so,
none of those like those harder sort of squared off edges that you see Martins.
I wanted to have smooth and dense lines on my models, but also I wanted to be able to keep some standard dimensions because the proportions are already pretty good, I think, in those in most of some popular models, and also just something as dumb as I wanted the guitar cases to fit my models as well.
Practical.
Yeah, right. So this is pretty much the way I design my guitar shapes, and then for the aesthetics, it's really a mix of many things. Or obviously there are a lot of builders out there who inspire me, but also I think I got an eye of my own for aesthetics.
Definitely, yeah.
So I really like some architectural movements such as the early first Gothic era.
Okay.
So very tense line, broken with hard angles. Just this kind of concept that can help me with my aesthetics in general. And then the building method just evolved a lot and keeps doing so. Maybe slower nowadays, but in the first years of my activity, it evolved a lot. So nowadays, I got my method pretty figured out for the neck assembly and for the side rim assembly, and this is one of my favorite sides of the job, is to be able to have such a great community around me of great builders who I can share with a lot of building tricks and stuff. So it's very thrilling to be part of this.
Yeah, especially up there, you must have such a, like, it seems to be such a dense area in terms of lutherie. So you've got so many folks to collaborate with and to trade ideas with, and so that must be really exciting.
Sure, and being able to see people on the showcases and visiting shops, and it's very makes the activity very dynamic and it keeps things interesting, really.
Yeah, I've noticed talking to different luthiers, just how connected everybody is. And that's because obviously building a guitar is a pretty solo activity for the most part, but at the same time, like, it seems like everybody's really gregarious and really well connected and all chatting with each other all the time, which is really, I think that's really awesome.
Sure. Well, this is the kind of solidarity that can happen in a small community like this. So, everybody's kind of on the same boat. So globally, people tend to really get together and support each other most of the time. Obviously, it's not always true, right? But yeah, it's a very great, it's a very good community that I really like. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Yeah.
So yeah, just going back to your different models for a second. So we've had the Mistrals and the MJCs in stock, but I don't think we've ever had, at least not since I've worked here, any of the Maelstroms or your 00 size, your Moonchild. So I'm curious to know are those more mid-size ones more popular for you, or do you get people requesting the jumbo size Maelstrom and the 00 Moonchild very often?
No, absolutely. The mid-size guitar are clearly the most popular in my lineup.
Yeah.
So I maybe 80% of my sales are either Mistral or MJ models. The Maelstrom, I just made a couple of those in the past. The Moonchild, I think I made 4 or 5. I got one in the pipes for a customer starting soon. But the Maelstrom is it's based on a J200, so it's a very big guitar. So I know this is not a format particularly made for everyone. So it's pretty it's gonna suit some players, but most players, especially those who look for fingerstyle guitars, they are gonna go for a mid-size model.
Yeah.
But I recently made an attempt of adapting the Maelstrom model on a baritone scale. Okay. So yeah, I got this one just ready for La Connor this year. And it was blessed. I mean, I had a lot of good returns on it. So it was a pleasure. It was my first baritone ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with a redwood top and grenadillo. You can check out on my Instagram for pictures of this one.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, wow. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Lose my train of thought here for a second. My other question kind of related to that was going to be, do you branch out very often? And so if the baritone was the first one that you made, do you get many opportunities to kind of go outside of your typical line, like building something even smaller or something like that? Or do you kind of tend to generally stick to those four or 5 models?
For now, at least, I got a few ideas of new models in the back of my mind. I'm still looking for the perfect dreadnought size guitar, which I haven't found yet. Yeah, I had a model at some point. I'm not offering it anymore, which was called the Marley model.
Okay.
It was kind of a dreadnought size model, but I made a couple of those, and I didn't really enjoy what I had achieved with it. So it's going to be in the works for the future. And maybe I'm going to work on a Parlour model, maybe a very small 00 with a 12 fret neck joint, something like this, which is also in the back of my mind, but I just have to find the time to work on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like parlors are really popular right now, so it's probably a good thing to explore.
Yeah, and I'm curious to explore about the acoustic behavior of this kind of small instrument. It's very interesting. Yeah. In particular, I'm very inspired on this aspect by my good buddy Domcho Ivanov, who makes some of the loveliest guitars in the world, in my opinion. Really? Especially his parlor size guitar are amazing and so responsive and lively. So that would be a good inspiration.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but I have my model lineup, and I won't really go off this lineup for anybody unless someone is willing to pay me an extra 5 or 6 grand to have the whole conception made and the jigs and stuff, but it doesn't really happen. So yeah.
I see. Gotcha. really unusual, like double sides or anything unusual with the bracing on your guitars, or are they pretty sort of, I don't want to say standard, but like more traditional on the side?
Oh, that's a good question. I used to have kind of more traditional side rim assembly. So I was really using laminated linings and all the side reinforcements, cross grain inside, and so this is a very efficient and tidy way to make side rim to assemble side rims, but it takes a lot of time and it's a bit of a tedious work to achieve. So nowadays I do, and you have actually in your shop kind of the two first guitars that I'm making now with full laminated linings, full laminated side rims. Sorry. So I just laminate my sides with Kerfeld core. That's make the whole height of the side rim. Oh, okay. And inside there's just a layer of veneer inside of the guitar. So all laminated with epoxy. So this way you have a very stiff and stable side rim. Okay. And so this is very interesting. And I didn't invent anything doing that. I got inspired by Diane James, who does this method, as well as Mike Kennedy, and also Jeremy Clark from 52 Instruments, who are the guys who popularized kind of this assembly method. So there are good buddies coming pretty much from Montreal. And so it's one of the perks of working in this field and having shows and sharing knowledge with other builders makes your techniques evolve, and this is one of them. So now my standard approach for side rims is the one I just described. And for the top bracing, I use a double X pattern. Yeah. So really a main X that is kind of the standard size for an acoustic guitar. So about a bit more than a quarter of an inch wide bars. Most of the time it's just a taper profile. And so under the bridge I have a second X, smaller, a bit more open, with a good portion of it that is cross grain from the top. So this is what I mean when I say it's open. It's like open like this. So it's more cross grain a little bit. So yeah, this is a pattern that I've been developing over time, and it's I'm very happy with it. So I stick to it.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I don't think I've seen like a wider X, or not wider is maybe not the word, but yeah, that kind of particular structure before. So that's really interesting to know that you're doing.
It's not that open, but the thing is, depending on the angle you give to your X, you're gonna open it a little bit more or less, and then it's gonna behave differently, obviously. So you just have to find the right balance to have the top behave the way you want.
Okay. So, gotcha. Yeah. Cool. So we've got these two guitars, and we've got the Mistral is, man, I'm totally like blanking. I've got to like refresh my memory a little bit to be able to look at them. We've got the MJC in mahogany and Italian spruce.
This is Adirondack, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then the Mistral was Brazilian rosewood and Alpine spruce. So yes. Do you tend to work more with those more, I guess, I don't want to say traditional tone woods, but, you know, sort of more the classics, like the good, reliable standbys, or do you venture off into the more alternative woods these days?
I tend to stick to pretty popular tone woods. I have plenty of alternative and more uncommon tone woods in my wood stash, but I rarely got the occasion to use them. So most of the time I'm gonna work with either mahogany or rosewood, or either it can be cocobolo or Brazilian rosewood, or even Indian rosewood sometimes, which are pretty I don't know if you can say it in English, but reliable values to be using.
Yeah.
So in terms of alternative tone woods, I use sometimes Granadillo, Wenge, and I got a lot of tone woods I hadn't the occasion to try yet, but that's gonna be tried soon, sooner than later, I hope. Yeah.
Cool. What's your favorite top wood?
Sitka spruce for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of an uncommon opinion these days. Everybody,
I know.
European spruce or something.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Sitka spruce is very popular, at least in my experience, in Europe. And on the contrary, it's more European spruce that's popular in North America. I don't know if it's the exotic side of it or maybe the reputation, I don't know. But in my opinion, as a builder, I really like to work with Sitka spruce. It's one of the more denser spruce species we have, but it has such a great acoustic behavior, and it has such a great color of tone, and has some particular deep bass response that I really enjoy. So I like working with it, but I know that European spruce is very popular, so I also like to follow the popularity, and what I want to be able to offer people whatever they want as a tone wood, and I like to guide people over if they have any questions regarding this or that wood. I'd be happy to work with them on that. But if you ask me my perfect tone wood for a top is Sitka spruce.
Nice. Yeah. That's I like asking luthiers what they would sort of point customers more in the direction of, and I feel like the common answer lately has been things like Indian rosewood and the classic standbys that people maybe don't think to choose on their boutique guitar because they want something more quote unquote exotic because their Martin has Sitka or Indian rosewood or something. So
yeah, but there is some kind of comfort sticking to what you already seen since you were a kid. I mean, if you see a Martin if you saw a Martin 40 years ago when you were young back then, or I don't know, it feels like something familiar that you can rely on. And most clients, they are not wood experts at all, so they sometimes, most of the time, actually don't even know the alternatives that can exist to those traditional woods. So you have to just let them know it does exist. You can show them the sets you can have in your stash and say, hey, this wood can behave pretty similarly to the perfect Madagascar rosewood you saw, and you're gonna enjoy it as well. And so yeah, just a part of the job too.
Yeah. What is your favorite wood to use for back and sides? Personal favorite?
I love sapelli.
Yeah.
Personally, yeah. I made a few guitars with this, and it can be gorgeous. It smells good. It's fine to. I mean, it's very pleasant to work with, and it sounds great. I really like it. Obviously, I like the classics such as Brazilian rosewood or Indian rosewood is really a pleasure to work with as well. Yeah, that would be it.
Yeah. I feel like I like, obviously sapelli and mahogany are related, and I wish that I could say I could hear a difference, but do you hear a difference between mahogany and sapelli, and are you able to sort of quantify that for folks?
I wouldn't say that I can quantify the difference I can hear between mahogany and sapelli, and sure, they're gonna give a color to the sound, but there are so much more elements involved in the acoustic results. So the way you shape your bracings and the way you calibrate everything. So, but I would classify them kind of in the same category of warm, tone woods that can bring some color to the overall sound of the guitar. It's gonna be more of a kind of a darker sound, I think, but
Okay.
I would say there's some quite similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my opinion at least.
Yeah.
Maybe some luthier with 30 plus years of experience would totally disagree with me. Who knows?
I think that most people would probably agree with that. I was just hoping that maybe you had like a really strong opinion and could tell me the difference.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, it's definitely beautiful for sure. And for anybody who likes mahogany, it's going to be up their alley too. So
yeah, the one you have is a gorgeous example.
Yeah.
You have in the shop right now.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Just like the figuring is almost like the tree or something.
Kind of looks like the tree, but I figured I didn't have it sold to me as the tree, so I won't advertise it as the tree. I don't think it comes from the tree, but it's a nice tree still.
It's a very nice tree.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any left in the shop. So.
Oh, really?
No.
Sapele is African, right? It's not from Central.
Yeah, exactly. It's considered as a mahogany species, but it's not actually a mahogany species, and it's globally denser than genuine mahogany.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's really similar in terms of grain. So you can have some ribbon figure in there, and it behaves kind of the same way.
Yeah, very cool. Well, so how often do you work with shops like ours versus just working directly with customers to design guitars for them?
I would say nowadays it must be about 50-50 maybe.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoy both aspects. I really like to work with shops like yours, and I think you guys do a very great job of advertising and getting the guitars out there and creating content that help to put my work on the map, really, which is very, very nice. You obviously have a broad network of customers that that you have been in contact with for years, and so it's not something I can do without. So
right. Yeah.
This is the aspect I like about working with dealers like you. I also like working with customers, especially when I have the opportunity to meet them in real life. So yeah, for instance, in a couple of weeks, I got a guy from the US coming over at the shop, and he's gonna choose his tone woods and choose his model and options and everything. So this is very a pleasant way to work as well.
Yeah, that sounds like such a great because it's so much of what we do is via email or via phone, and that's great, but like nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that must be the ideal experience, is just to
Exactly.
go visit your luthier, pick out the woods together, discuss in person, and really kind of narrow down the choices and figure things out. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's really an aspect of the job I enjoy a lot, and I didn't think when I started and when I was less experienced with customers back when I started, I didn't think I would really enjoy this aspect, but actually it's just really one of the best parts, I think. Mm-hmm. Sharing your knowledge and your advice and having people enjoying your work, and it's so rewarding at the end of the day. So yeah.
What do you think players gain the most by working directly with a luthier like you versus just buying a guitar from a shop?
Well, to give a short answer, I think they get the guitar they want, mm-hmm. instead of hoping to find the guitar they can do with. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, and no offense to any of the guys in the industry who make guitars, they can do a very good job. Mm-hmm. but all their work is standardized, obviously, and they have to work this way. So this is kind of this, the customer has to adapt to the guitars they're gonna buy. Instead of if you work with a custom guitar maker, this is the guitar that's gonna be adapted to the player, not the contrary. So yeah, this is the how I see things, at least.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And for players who really do have a strong sense of what they're looking for and a well-established playing style, I mean, there's really nothing better than having somebody build the instrument just for you and getting everything that you want and putting it into one versus having to have several just to get different experiences or something. So
yeah, right. And so the results can be pretty inconsistent with the industry sometimes. And so I think there are a lot of customers who never got used to working with a luthier before. I got a few of those before, and it was their first handmade custom guitar. And so they were kind of a bit worried, and maybe they didn't really know what to expect. And when you see them back again 2 or 3 years later, and they already purchased 2 more guitars from other makers, and so they once they taste it, they just want to come back, because I think even for the customers, it's a great experience. So yeah, this is very nice to be a part of this. Kind of lost my train of thoughts, but yeah.
No, that totally makes sense, because I mean, each and every one of you guys have such a distinct style, and your guitars, while each individual guitar might be different, like there's still a cohesiveness in your work. And so getting to have a guitar from you and getting to have one from Dion or from Michael Bashkin or some, I mean, that's just like, that would be the dream, is basically having an artist make something for you that you get to use over and over again. So yeah, it's pretty good.
True. And the cool thing is, like I said, I work with my model lineup, so which is really the body shape of the guitars. But there are so many things you can customize for one particular client. You can adapt for the neck width and the action and the string spacing. And you can work a lot on the tone, on the bridge size and weight and stuff like this, which make things very very adaptable, despite the fact that you are basing everything on a particular model, but you can play a lot with it. So
yeah, for players who have that really attuned sense of like the weight and the feel, like that you really
exactly
a lot. So that's awesome. Have you had the opportunity to build your perfect guitar for yourself?
Well, the perfect guitar I haven't found yet.
No. What would be your personal like go-to guitar that you would build for yourself, of your models and of the tone woods available?
I think personally the Mistral you have in stock at the moment is pretty close.
Yeah.
That would be probably something very traditional tone wood, but luxurious and nicely appointed. That would be something like this.
But, can't go wrong.
I mean, tastes evolve all the time, in my opinion, in my case at least. So I try to stay fresh and to find all the time to find new ideas in terms of design and aesthetics. And well, you might be able to tell that I put a lot of importance into aesthetics, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
So when I got the chance to have a nicely spec'd custom guitar, I love to spend hours making small inlays and miters and stuff like this. So it would be something like that probably.
Yeah, you have such a great. It's not like over the top in any way. It's just, it's all so tastefully done and so precise, and everyone has been different that we've had here in the shop. So it's just, yeah, they're beautiful guitars.
Thank you so much.
So what's next for you? Are you going to do any of the guitar shows this year?
Yeah, so I got I'm planned to attend Woodstock at the end of October. Really looking forward to it because I just made my first show in 3 years, just in May in La Conner this year. It was so great to see everybody again and to spend some good times over there, and such a lovely place. So, so I'm gonna be in Woodstock in October, and I can't wait for it. I'm about to start thinking about setting up all the Airbnb and stuff with fellow builders. So, yeah, it's gonna be very fun. Yeah. And for next year, I don't. Sorry.
We're gonna try to go to Woodstock too, and it's on my mind to make sure to start booking the Airbnbs and stuff like now.
Yeah, I'm here too. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, I would be happy to meet you guys over there.
Yeah, that'll be so great. What shows are you gonna do next year?
Well, next year I don't know yet, but as soon as I get the opportunity to apply to one attractive show, I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So for preparing for the shows, how many guitars do you generally try to bring? Is it just maybe a couple, or do you try to have like one of every model, or what's the process for you?
It can be complicated. For instance, if the show is at the other side of the continent and I have to take a plane, I'm not gonna try to bring 4 guitars or 5 guitars with me, but maybe just a couple. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for La Conner, I just had 2 guitars with me, but I was lucky enough to have customers over there who brought their guitars, and so they lent me their guitars, and I could have them on display as well. So it was cool. Mm-hmm. But for Woodstock, I live just about 600 miles north, so I can drive there. So I'm gonna bring maybe 3 guitars this year. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be sharing a table with my buddy Doncho Ivanov.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to share the space, obviously. But yeah, it depends, and sometimes I have a hard time having guitars ready and in stock for the shows. So sometimes I have to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to kindly ask clients sometimes if I can take their guitars there before shipping the guitar. Most of the time they're fine with it, but in this kind of case, you just don't let anybody touch the guitar whenever they want. It works fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, awesome. We are so excited to meet you this October. And have you met Ben before?
Never. I never had the chance. I had a couple of calls with him, but not in person.
Well, awesome. I think hopefully Kim, Ben, me, and our photographer, and maybe some other folks will come up. So we'll all get to meet you. It'll be really, really lovely I'm so excited to meet all you guys for in person for once, because we've had a few folks visit us here in Nashville, but Nashville's not super close to all the guitar hot spots like Santa Cruz and Quebec. So
I'd love to pay a visit, but it's a bit far from home. Yeah, so I would have to plan it ahead, like Mario did recently.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, if you ever want to come visit, we'd love to have you in person. So
that would be a pleasure. Maybe next year. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to that. But in the meantime, we'll see you in October, and that'll be great.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.